Welcome to Halachot Niddah. This will be part 31 of the class. In today's class, in the Sefer from Rav David Yosef Shlita and the Sefer Taharat Abayit, it's a very short halacha. I'll just show you right over here, Rabotai. Very small. That's it. That's the whole halacha. Up to you. That's the finish. The rest is a short review also. Now, however, Rav David Yosef Shlita is going to speak about in today's class that ideally a woman should check herself 3 different times. Now, when are those 3 different times? That's the Onam Benunit, that's the average Onam. Then you have the Yom HaHaflaga, the interval day. And you also have the Yom HaChodesh, the date of the month. Now, Rabotai, to be honest with you, I can teach the class just like that and move on forward, and whoever gets it, gets it. But the problem is, Baruch Hashem, my Rebbe, Rav Wolkin, Shlita, whenever he used to teach me Torah, he made sure that I understand what I was learning. That's how you come to love Torah. When you do Chazara over and over again, and you understand it, and you make it part of your life, that's how you come to love Torah. So therefore, I feel I have the same obligation. So I'm not going to just superficially go over on a Benunit, Yom HaFlaga, and Yom HaChodesh, expecting you guys to understand. So, Baruch Hashem, we do have it recorded. What we're going to do, Belinada, before we begin this class, after you know that, you'll see how easy this class is. But what we're going to do is we're going to go to the videos that we already did. As you guys can see right over here, separating on day 30, right, the average Onam. This was part 12 of the class. We're right now in part 31 of the class. Rabotai, that's almost, 19 classes later. So I don't know how many people even remember this. So I want to make sure people understand and not, that when Allah is taught that it just goes right above their head and they don't know what's going on. Now, Rabotai, this is very important to know because we're going to see today that these 3 dates, the Onam Benunit, the Yom HaFlaga, and the Yom HaChodesh, that's when a woman needs to do Bidika. And Rabotai, that's very important for her to know because if she doesn't do the Bidika, and if she sees, we got a problem. Right? It's not only one time that they have to do the Bidika. There's 3 separate times that they have to go ahead and they have to check themselves, even when they are tahor, because they remember, they are anticipating the period to come. So the first one we're going to see today, Bezrat Hashem, is separating at day 30, which is going to speak about Onam Benunit. Now the next one, part 13, I don't think it's for today's class, but over there we spoke about the crucial average Onah. I don't think I'm going to put it in, but if you want, you can go ahead and listen to it. But then we have, in part 14 of the class, the interval cycle. Right, the Yom HaHaflaga, which is important for our class. But then we also have the Yom HaChodesh, the date of the month. That is also important. So, B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to play all of these classes. Afterwards, Rabotai, we're going to go to our class today. Now, there's also another class that you guys had to listen in order to be able to understand. I'll show you right now over here. Right over here, Rabotai, part 30, the class prior to today's class. Over there we spoke about how to check oneself with a Bidika cloth and when. So also, Rabotai, I'm not going to play that one because we just recently did it. So I would really strongly suggest, listen, if you got it, you got it. But if you want to listen to it, you can go back and listen to it. And then, Rabotai, this class in part 31 is going to be very simple to understand. So we're going to begin with this class today. Let's begin with this class today, B'ezrat Hashem, and after that, we're going to follow through by each class.
Welcome to Halachot Niddah. This will be part 12 of the class.
So,
today we want to speak about...
Rabotai, I did make it a little bit faster, so this way we don't have to really go through every detail, but you can always slow it down, okay? I just want to make sure, Rabotai, again, I think this is self-understood. You can even listen to it at a faster pace and as a review.
Separating on day number 30, which in Hebrew is called Onam Benunit, the average Onam. Before we start today's class, as we're going to start learning Halachot Niddah in depth, we're going to start picking up on certain words which I'm going to expect you to know. In order to make sure that the context of the law comes out clear, instead of me having to say, for example, the ona, and then translating it and saying that is the time period when a woman is anticipating to see her period, I'm going to want you to know that word. So, Belina der Bezrat Hashem, whenever we're going to start now, Halachot Niddah, I just want to try to simplify it a little bit, because remember, when I say it in Hebrew and then I have to translate it into English, it can lose the context of the law, which I don't want to happen. So there, I'm going to want you, just for today's class, know two vocabulary words. The first one is ona. Whenever we're going to say ona, which means period. So I went out and I elaborated on it a little bit more. Whenever you hear me say the word ona, just remember it means the time period where she's anticipating for her blood to come, or for her cycle to come. Another word which is similar to ona is called veset. Veset means where she's also anticipating the period to come. So basically, ona and veset are similar, just ona means period, veset means same thing about that period when she's anticipating the flow to come. So remember these two vocabulary words. Ona and veset means time period where she's anticipating her blood flow to start. Now that we know that, we're going to begin today's class. Today's class is a very important class. Now, we're going to start learning the halachot that even when your wife is pure, still there are times where you have to refrain from having relations from her. And today we're going to learn the first part of it. We've been saying this whole time that if a woman saw blood on during the day, next time around during the day, the husband has to stay away from her. He's not allowed to have relations with her, correct? When is that next time around? So we'll see, Rabotai, there are many days that have to be taken into consideration. Today we're going to go with part one of that day, which is called Ona Benonit, and average Ona. And let's see how it works. Chiyuv Prisha Samach Levestahu. Rabotai, pay close attention. Again, you see right over here? You see this word Samach Levesta? Same thing, Rabotai. I don't want to say close to the time when she's anticipating a period, meaning on the day when she's expecting a period to come. That's what it means. Same thing, Rabotai. Samach Levesta, close to the veset. So when I say close to the veset, you have to automatically go and remember this definition. Close to the time period where she's anticipating her period to come. Okay, Rabotai, I just want to make sure people are able to understand Halachot Niddah. Because remember, this is a one-way, like a one-way street. I'm teaching you and I can't see if you're understanding it or not. So I want to make sure you guys understand it. When you learn Torah, you have to understand what you're learning. A lot of problems come out when people don't learn Halachot the proper way, then they have many mistakes. They take upon themselves many stringencies, they make the wife's lives miserable. Not worth it, Rabotai. Learn it correctly the one time, the first time, know it, apply it. This way, you'll have a beautiful life. Comes Rav David Yosef and he says, Chiyuv Prisha Samach Levestahu. This obligation where a husband has to separate from his wife close to the veset, we're going to tell you that's Ben Be'isha Sheyesh La Veset Kavua, whether we are dealing with a woman who has an established cycle, that is a whole new terminology, we never spoke about that, or whether we're dealing with a woman who does not have an established, a woman who does not have an established cycle. Right now we're learning two new terminologies that we never learned up to now. You have a woman who has a veset kavua, an established cycle. And you have a woman who has veset she'ena kavua, which is not an established cycle. Now, if you look right over here, he says, in the parentheses, Rav David Yosef says in the parentheses, Gidrei veset kavu v'she'ena kavu yivoru lehalam b'siman tazan b'dini vestot. The laws of what does it mean, a established veset, and what does it mean, and not established veset, these halachot are going to be explained later on in chapter 16 in the laws of vestot, in the laws of cycles. Right now, we're not going to define it. I'm not going to get into it because I want to keep to what he's saying. So Rav David Yosef says that when we say to a husband that he has to separate from his wife, close to her veset, it doesn't matter if this woman has an established cycle or this woman does not have an established cycle. Once it's samach leveset, once it's close to her veset, he has to stay away from her. And as long as the period came where she's supposed to see, as long as the ona came where she's supposed to see, chayav ba'ala lifrosh mimena. The husband is obligated to separate from his wife. So I want to just summarize it before I continue. This whole obligation, when we say a husband has to separate from his wife close to her visit, that it doesn't make a difference to me if I'm dealing with a woman right now that has an established cycle, or if I'm dealing with a woman who does not have an established cycle. Whenever they're close to their visit, we're going to tell the husband, you are obligated to stay away from her, which means to say you're not allowed to be intimate with her, and at night you're not allowed to sleep, or even during the day you're not allowed to sleep on the same bed. Regarding kissing, hugging, touching, passing things, and things like that, eating from the same plate, being romantic, all these other halachot we will see be'ezrat Hashem. Continues Rav David Yosef Shlita, and he says, V'isha she'ela veset kavua. If I'm dealing right now with a woman who does not have an established cycle, tzarich bala lifrosh memena be'ona benonit. Rabotai, here we go, learning new concepts. The husband needs to go ahead and separate from her an ona benonit. What's an ona benonit? That's called an average ona, which is usually 30 days. He says right over here, Dahainu b'yom hashloshim liri'atah ha'achrona. It's 30 days from the last time she saw. Now, Rabotai, before I'm going to continue reading Rav David Yosef Shlita, I want to go ahead and I want to show you something over here. Now, I know this might be hard to see. If you have to zoom in, please zoom in because it's very important to know. And remember what I told you before. When it comes to the time, like from sunrise to sunset or from sunset to sunrise, you must use the Jewish calendar, the Jewish time. When it comes to the dates, when a woman sees, you must use the Jewish calendar. I have in front of me two calendars. One is Av, the month of Av, which is August, and one is Elul, which is September. We're right now in Elul. Rabotai, if you can see, I'm going to get up. I'm going to have to show it to you like this because it's going to be very hard. I just want you guys to understand. Before I go back over here, let me just get up for a second. I want to show you on the screen. If you see over here by the Av, right over here, Av, this woman, let's say if she saw during the day, she saw during the day her period. You see over here, Rabotai? Pay close attention. 1 second, my table's a little bit wide, so let me just get on it 1 second. We see right over here, you have Wednesday day and Tuesday night. Over here it says night is ona and day ona, right? Because remember, we go after the night. Our day starts from night. So on this day, on the 3rd of Av, a woman saw during the day. Rabotai, on the 3rd of Av, a woman saw during the day. The 3rd of Av has two separate English days in it. It has Tuesday night and it has Wednesday night. Okay, 1 second. Rav David Yosef Shlita tells us that if I'm dealing with a woman who does not have an established cycle, 30 days from this day, she's going to have to go out and she's going to have to stay away from her husband. So how am I going to count it? Watch this. If this is the 3rd of Av, I'm going to count with you. I'm going to count with you each one until I get to day number 30, and then I'm going to show you a method how you could remember very easy. When I'm counting 30 days from the day from the last time when she saw, you need to include the day that she also saw. You don't begin counting on day number 4. You don't do that. You start counting on day number 3. On the 3rd of Av, it's going to be day number 1. Here we go. Day number 1, day number 2. Okay, by the way, before we do continue, something, this is hard. 1 second. Rabotai, just before we do continue, I want to show you, watch this. Day number 1, when a woman received her period, was during the day. Then day number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, she does her hefsek tahara. Then she waits 17 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Remember this? And she goes to the mikvah on Monday night. Okay, just if you guys remember that whole cycle. Whatever day that she does, and whatever day that she does her, whatever day that she does her hefsek tahara, that's the same night. After that day, she goes to the mikvah. We did this halachot in the previous class. I just want to show that's what he has over here, pink and gray. Now, so let's do the counting. I need 30 days. So here we go. The 3rd of Av is going to be day number 1. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, right over here, Rabotai, 30, Benonit. You see right over here, it says Benonit, 30. Now, when I get to, which is what day? Rabotai, watch this. She saw on the 3rd of Av, but the next 30 days is going to be the 2nd of Elul. So how are you going to make this calculation if you really want to know the simple way? It's always 4 weeks plus 1 day. That's how you're going to make it. That's how you calculate it. 4 weeks plus 1 day. So now when we get to the second day of Elul, Rabotai, pay close attention. Over here I have Wednesday night on Elul and I have Thursday day. So when do I stay away from my wife? Very simple. Depends. When did I see it over here? If on the 3rd of August, right over here, if on the 3rd of Av, not August, Rabotai, Av. Keep it always the Hebrew calendar. If on the 3rd of Av, I saw it during the day, meaning the woman saw it during the day, that means 30 days, including this day, which is going to be on the L of the 2nd, you're going to stay only from her away during the day. That means Thursday during the day, you're not allowed to be with her. But Wednesday night, you're allowed to be with her, and then after the Thursday day, Thursday night, you're allowed to be with her. So you see, this is very nice that they made this calendar. It's so beautiful, Rabotai. So one more time. If she saw over here, during the day, on the 3rd of Av, 30 days later, she's going to have to stay away on the 2nd of Elul. But when is that day? Because it comes out to be the Thursday, which is the day. Because on the 2nd of Elul, you have two English dates. You have Wednesday night and Thursday night. So we're going to tell you, Wednesday night, you're allowed to be with your wife. Thursday day, which is the 30th day, you're not allowed to be with your wife. Thursday night, you're allowed to be with your wife. This is why I need you guys to make sure that you follow the Hebrew calendar and nothing else. Okay, 1 second. Okay. Now that we saw that, now we can go ahead back and see what Rav Yosef Shloita is going to say. Now it should be easier. Okay. All right. So we said like this one more time. If I'm dealing with a woman who does not have an established cycle, the husband needs to separate from her, and the average owner. What's the average owner? Which means to say on the 30th day, from the last time she saw her. Like I explained, you're going to include the day that she saw as day number 1. Then you're going to count the 30 days. That day, Rabotai, he's going to have to stay away from her, like I explained on the calendar. So now he's going to go and he's going to explain what I just told you over there. If the last time that she saw was during the day, you need to separate from the wife on the 30th day for the whole duration of the day. And you're allowed to sleep with your wife you're allowed to sleep with your wife the night before the day. And also you're allowed to sleep with your wife the night after the day. Meaning after she did the proper checking. And if the last thing she saw was really at night, no problem. You have to separate from your wife on the 30th day the whole night. And he's allowed to go ahead and sleep with his wife the day before the night and the day after the night, as long as she did a proper bidika. Rabotai, let me just show you this also over here. Just let me show you. I would do it with my cursor, but I don't think you're not gonna be able to see it very well. Okay. So Rav Yosef said like this, right? We said that this is day number 1, this is day number 30, because like we counted. If she saw the period on the 3rd of Av during the day, I'm going to tell you, she has to stay away from her husband on the 2nd of Elul during the day only. And she's allowed to, she and he is allowed to be together the night before the day and the night after the day, as long as she did the proper bidika. And the other case, what happens if the woman saw on the 3rd of Av, but when did she see it? She saw it at night, meaning she saw it Tuesday night. No problem, it's still day number 1. Count 30 days, but when you're going to get over here, since we go by the Jewish calendar, it's going to be ending up on the 2nd of Elul, but not on the day, it's going to be the night before, meaning in the previous case, we said the husband has to stay away from his wife Thursday day, because that was the honor. Now we're saying, in this case, if the woman sees at night, if she sees Tuesday night over here, we're going to tell you, 30 days later, on Wednesday night, you cannot be with your wife. But the day before Wednesday night, you're allowed to sleep with your wife. And the day after Wednesday night, as long as she did the proper checking, you're allowed to sleep with your wife. Okay, Rabotai? Continues Rav Yosef Shloita, and you have Ashkenazim. He's going to say right now, Ashkenazim, you have some certain Ashkenazim that are stringent. Okay, they want to be stringent, let them be stringent. Ashkenazim, and you have from our brothers, the Ashkenazim, that they have a custom to separate on the average owner, meaning on the 30th day. 2 complete onot, 2 complete periods. Kigon, for example. If the woman saw during the day, right, like we explained in real estate, she saw on right over here, right where it said number 1, she saw during the day. Poresh, look what he says. Poresh memena la'achar shloshim yom, gam belela shloshim v'gam beyom hashloshim. Rabotai, listen to this. He's going to separate from his wife, Ashkenaz, that they're stringent, some of them are. He's going to separate from his wife. When you see right over here, my question where the yellow is right over here, he's going to separate from her right over here on the 30th day, and also on the 30th night, right over here, Rabotai. That means Wednesday night he's not going to have relations with his wife, and Thursday day he's not going to have relations with his wife, because he's keeping 2 periods. No problem. He wants to do that, let him do it. Continues Rav David Yosef, and he says, "V'chen yesh me'achin she'Ashkenazim." So too you have from our brothers the Ashkenazim, shenohagim lefrosh be'onot benunid, that they're accustomed to separating when it comes to the 30th day, to the average cycle on the 30th day. Milvad beyom hashloshim lirata hachrona. Besides, on the 30th day from the last time that she saw her, gam beyom hashloshim vechad lirata hachrona. Also on the 31st day. So this Rabotai is different than what we said before. Now it's telling you that besides the fact that they're going ahead and they're separating from their wives on the 30th day from the last time she saw her, they're also going to separate from their wives on the 31st day from the last time that she saw. Okay, Rabotai, if anybody has these chumrot, I wish you a lot of luck. Remember the rule. You don't make your wife's life hard. You don't do it. If your wife wants to be with you, you be with her, Rabotai. You don't deprive your wife, chas v'shalom, lo leino, from the only thing that she could get is from you and nobody else. Rabotai, review. When a husband must separate from his wife near the time of her period, which as we define what was either you could call it a vesed or an honor. Basic rule. A husband must separate from his wife when the time comes that she might see blood. This is true whether she has a set cycle, which is called the vesed kavua, or not. The details of fixed versus not fixed, non-fixed cycles are explained later in Siman 16. We're right now in chapter Bet. If the woman does not have a fixed cycle, her husband must separate from her at the ona benonit, which is called the average cycle time, which is the 30th day after her last period. When she saw the period, that's day number 1. Count on top of that 29 more days. That's why I told you it's 4 weeks plus 1 day. If her last period began during the day, they must separate the whole 30th day. But she's permitted the night before and the night after if she checks properly. If her last period began at night, they must separate the whole 30th night. But she's permitted the day before and the day after if she checks properly. Ashkenazi customs, stricter practices some keep. Some separate for 2 full onot, 2 full time periods. If her last period was in the day, they separate on both the night of the 30th and the day of the 30th. Others separate not only on the 30th day, but also on the 31st day after the last period.
Okay, Rabotai, so that was the Ono Benunit. I think, if a person, does Chazarot and, if you learn it well, it's very simple when you go over it again and again. So now we just saw, right, the Ono Benunit. So I'm going to skip out on the crucial average Ono right over here. It's important, Rabotai, but not for today's class. If you have to listen to it, go to part 13. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to see the Yom HaFlaga, the interval cycle.
Welcome to Halachot Niddah. This will be part 14 of the class. Today's topic is called interval vesed. In Hebrew, it's going to be called Vesed HaFlaga. We have learned one type of vesed yesterday, which is called Ona Benunit, the average Onam. That the 30th day from the last time that a woman saw, she has to stay away from her husband. Today we are learning a different type of vesed, which is called an interval vesed, and in Hebrew is called Vesed HaFlagam. Now, as we're going to continue, there's also going to be other types of vesed, meaning periods that she's anticipating to get her blood flow, and that time or those times, a husband and wife need to stay away from each other. They cannot have relations. So as of now, we've learned Ona Benunit, that is the first vesed he has to stay away from. Today we're going to learn Vesed HaFlagam. And these vestot that we're speaking about is specifically going on women who do not have an established cycle. In his Sefer Taharat Abayit, Rav David Yosef Shlita brings down and he says, V'chen, and so too, after we saw in the previous class that a person has to distance himself from his wife on day 30th, which is the Ona Benonit. So continues Rav David and he says, V'chen, and so too, Tzarich habal lifrosh mi'ishto. A husband also needs to separate from his wife. Specifically, we're speaking about Be'isha she'en la vesed kavua. We're speaking about a woman who does not have an established cycle. Gam biyom haflaga ha'achrona. Also on the last interval. Now, before we continue, I want to just show it to you so you guys can see what's going on over here. This again is a makeshift calendar. I revised it, I redid it. Now, we're going to see you have the month over here of Av, and then you have the month of Elul. These numbers right over here on top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right here on the bottom, right over here, 8, right, not that, no, not that. Not the bottom number. These numbers right over here on top, these numbers right over here, 8, 9, 10, all these numbers are the calendar dates. The numbers that you see on the bottom of those numbers, I went ahead and I did the counting, not to take up a lot of your time. So I went ahead and I did the counting for us already. And we'll do it together, we'll read it, but I already typed it in. So when you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all this are days counting up to when she's going to see next. So the top line is the date of the month. The bottom line, the second row, is the days that she's counting up before she's going to see again. Rav David Yosef Shlita in the Sefer Taharat Abayit is going to introduce a new concept, which is called the Veset Aflaga interval cycle. What does that mean? If you guys pay attention, I'm just choosing random dates. I don't want to go day 1 because I want people to be able to get used to it and know how to calculate. So this is an interval cycle. If a woman saw on the 6th of the month, and the next time she saw towards the end of the month on day 30, not on counting 30 days from then, no. Because 30 days from number 6 is not 30. It's going to be, this is 25, it's going to be on day 5 right over here. It's going to be over here, on day 5 of the month. That's 30 days. But right now what I want to show you is like this. If a woman saw on the 6th of the month, we're going to wait until she gets her second period. So remember, what did we say before? A woman needs to count until Ona Benonit. So let's say over here, on the 6th of the month she got it, we're going to count 30 days from here in order to get to the period. So let's go. To meaning to Ona Benonit, average Ona. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. There's a reason why I left it blank. 1 second. 26, 27, 28, 29. Okay. 30. This Rabotai over here is going to be her average Ona. This over here is going to be her average Ona. What happened was like this. Rabotai, listen to this very carefully. A woman got her period on the 6th of the month, let's say in the month of Av. She's waiting to get her period on the Benonit, on this day right over here. She's waiting to get her period on the average Ona, which is day 30th. But what happened? She didn't get it on day 30th. She got it on day 25. She was counting. Everything was going good. Everything was going good. 1 second. There we go. She was counting. Everything was going fine. She got to 24. She wanted to continue counting until 30. But she came across day 25, which is the 30th of the month of Av. And she saw blood. Rabotai, listen to this very carefully. Once she sees blood over here, then this Ona over here gets erased. Now she doesn't have to be afraid of this. It's very simple. Why doesn't she have to be afraid of this? 1 second. Why doesn't she have to be afraid of this? Because it's no point. Because over here, Rabotai, it's not 30, it's number 5. This 30th day doesn't really exist because this 30th day is one of her Niddah days. So therefore, when she got it on the 25th, now pay close attention. This is called Vesed Haflaga, an internal cycle. Not internal, interval cycle. What happened? Since she saw on the 6th of the month, and then she saw at the end of the 30th of the month, when I count from the 6th of the month, and I count till the end of the month, because that's when she saw, which is going to be exactly 25 days. This is called that a woman has an interval cycle. What does that teach me? Okay, good. Well, what does that do? Very simple. Now this woman is no longer Rabotai. She no longer has after she establishes the second time when she sees, she no longer has one period that she's anticipating to stay away from her husband. Now she has another owner that she has to stay away from her husband. So one of them we spoke about was, let me just do this 1 second. One of them we spoke about that is Ona Benunit. That's the average cycle, 30 days. Now this woman has what's called an interval cycle, Vesed Haflaga. In this case, Rabotai, she just established herself for just that month, 25 days interval. So let's put it in 25 days. How does it benefit her? What's going on over here? Rabotai, listen to this carefully. Now that she got her period right over here, from this day, from day number 30, that's why I didn't write it before. From day number 30, this will be day number 1 to count to 25 days. Because now she has an interval cycle also. So she has over here 2 things. She has on the Benunit she has to be afraid of, and an interval cycle. Now, in both of these cases, in the Ona Benunit and the Vesed Haflaga, nobody said she's going to see. We're afraid she might come to see. So yesterday we were learning that the husband has to stay away from her only on the average Ona. Today we're adding an extra day that her husband has to stay away from her, which is the Haflaga, the interval. So that means like this, Rabotai. If on this day she received the last cycle, which just gives me that was 25 days from the previous cycle, from 6 to 30, 25 days. Now she has to count 25 days. And if she doesn't see on the 25th day, she has to count to the 30th day. And if she doesn't see on the 30th day, she's allowed to be with her husband after she does the cleaning. So watch this, Rabotai. I'm not going to write everything. I'm just going to go straight. I already did the calendar. So let's say we're going to count this as day number 1. Elul, the first of Elul is going to be day number 2, etc. and so on and so forth. We're going to continue. When I reach day number 24th, the date of the 24th of Elul, that's day number 25. This day, the husband's not allowed to have relations with her. Now, we're going to wait. Is she getting a period or not? If she didn't get her period, no problem. The husband, again, those same laws what we learned in the previous class apply here also. If, let's say, she received in the previous period, let's say over here she received, let's say 1 second. Let's say over here on day 1, right over here on the 25th day, she received the period during, I'm going to go the night just to confuse you a little bit. She received during the night, no problem. Then again, remember Jewish calendar only. Then on the 24th of the night, she has to stay away from her husband. And the day before the 24th of the night, and the day after the 24th of the night, she's allowed to sleep with her husband. So Rabotai, she's waiting right now over here. Right, so we explained over here that she saw, let's say, at night. That means on the 24th of the night, which is the 25th day, to her scene where she's anticipating the period is supposed to come, she's not allowed to sleep with her husband. But what happens if she didn't get it? She didn't get the visit. It didn't come. We're going to tell you no problem. She's allowed, again, so this is Rabotai. So 1 second. So let's do this. She's staying away from her husband on the 24th of the night. Now, Rabotai, it's very sad that this, it's not a Hebrew calendar, but you would know how you would do it, correct? Let me just show you over here. I just want to make sure you guys are getting it. If I'm saying that on the 24th of the night she has to stay away from her husband, it's not going to be during the day, it's going to be during the night. And the night of the 24th began on the 23rd, right away on the bottom. So when we say that she's allowed to be with her husband during the day, during the 23rd she'll be able to be with her husband during the day. The 24th of the night she's not allowed to be. and then the 24th of the day, which is over here, because the night is really over here, correct? The night is at the, because you have day and the night. You have day and night. So at the night, you're not allowed to be with him. But during the day, you're allowed to be with him. Rabotai, refer back to my other class where I spoke about how to calculate. I hope you guys go one by one because this whole thing builds one on top of another. Okay. So, just to make it, I shouldn't have it complicated, right? But let me just make it simple. Just always follow the Hebrew calendar. You will not have a problem. Let's say, and the last cycle, she saw her during the day. Right over here, she saw her during the day, okay? Good, she saw her during the day, perfect. So on the 24th during the day, the husband has to stay away from her. But the night before the day, and the night after the day, he's allowed to be with her as long as she's clean. Now, remember, she has to do an internal checking before sunset. Now, she didn't get the period on the anticipated interval, which is the 25-day interval. No problem, we tell you, you're allowed to be with your husband on the 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th becomes day number 30. Because if you look into the date where it says number 24, which is day 25 of our interval, if I count the date of the 25, it's going to be 26. The date of 26 is going to be day number 27 to our counting. The date of 27 is going to be 28 to our counting. The date 28 is going to be 29th to the last time she saw. Date 29th is going to give me day 30. That's what I wrote over here, day 30, right over here. This is the average owner. Now, Rabotai, look at this carefully. You see where you have two owner, you have two periods where she's anticipating to see her period, even though she's 100% pure. So you can't sleep with your wife, according to my calendar, on the 24th, and then you cannot also sleep with your wife on the 29th, because that's the owner benefit from the last time when she saw. So watch this, Rabotai, one more time. What's an interval cycle? Interval cycle will see when you have two re'iyot, you have two times when a woman sees. With one I cannot establish because I need another one to may have an interval. So if a woman saw on the 6th of the month, no problem. I just have to be afraid of owner benefit. But what happens if the woman saw it 25 days later, right over here? She saw it 25 days later, which on the 30th of the month, no problem. Beautiful. I don't have to worry for the 30th day because there's no 30th day now because you're going to have 5 Niddah days because you're going to be bleeding. Beautiful. Now when I start counting again from day 30, which is day number 1, to the count of 30, I also have to count 25 days from here. So I'm going to start from over here, and from day number 30 is going to be day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And on the 24th of the date of Elul is going to be day number 25. Over here, I tell the woman, stay away from your husband. You're not allowed to have relations with him. She didn't see, doesn't turn over b'dika, no problem. Continue having relations. 25, 26, 27, 28. 29th, again, she has to stay away from her husband because that's on the benefit. So you see over here, we have introduced another cycle, another period where a husband and a wife are not allowed to have relations, even though she's 100% pure. Having that in mind, let's go back to today's class. So comes Rav David Yosef and he says, "V'chen," and so too, tzarich la'habal lifrosh mishto, and so too the husband needs to separate from his wife. Be'isha she'en la veset kavua. We're dealing over here specifically with a woman who does not have an established cycle. Gam biyom ha'haflaga ha'achrona. Also by her last interval. Dahainu, what does that mean? Which means, sheyesh lechashev et hayamim sheben ri'eta ha'achrona leben zo shekadma la. You have to consider, you have to count, you have to enumerate her last seeing with the previous seeing, like this. Her last seeing is going to be over here. We spoke about right over here. Her last seeing was right over here. To the previous one, which is over here, number 6. When we calculate it, we get 25 days. Now when you're gonna when that day again is gonna come, you need to go ahead and you need to separate from her. Let me show you over here again. So now that I know that it is day, now that I know that her interval is every 25 days, she has to go ahead and she has to, from here we're going to count 25 days, and now she has to separate from her husband, which is going to be on the 24th of Elul, which is day 25, from the last time that she saw. He gives us an example. Kigon, for example, if between her last seeings, she had 25 days interval, 25 days, from the last time to the first time that she saw, the husband needs to separate from his wife after 25 days, from the last veset, right? From here. From this last day. You go after this day. You always go after the last area. You always go after the last seeing. Now, Rabotai, you're going to have a very big problem over here. I'll make it a little bit of a problem. What happens if the woman saw over here her period during the night? She saw during the night. So, over here, she saw during the day. What do you follow? Do you say that he has to stay away from his wife when it comes to day 25? He has to stay away from her day and night? Because on the first one she saw at night, the second one she saw at day. What am I doing? What am I following? Comes Rav David Yosef Shlita and he says, Ve'im vesta ha'acharon hitchil balal, and if the last vested began at night, ve'haveset shelafanav bayom, and the vested prior to that was during the day, ve'chen lehefech, and so to opposite. What happens if the last vested was during the day, and the vested before that was during the night? Like I showed you over here. The last vested was during the day, and the one before that was during the night. Or this one was during the day, number 6 was during the day, and this one was during the night. Doesn't matter. You need to go. You need to separate from your wife, like the last owner, which means to say, if in our scenario, since the last time when she received her period, which was day number 25, from the last time that she saw, it was during the day. Beautiful. I'm not concerned about this night. That means when I count 25 days from here and I get to day 25 over here, when am I not allowed to sleep with my wife? During the day only, not also the night. You don't include the night. Do not be a chassid. Do not be a chassid shoteh. Do not take that privilege, that simcha away from your wife. Rabotai, Chazara, review. What is Yom HaFlaga? It is the day marking the same interval of days between two previous periods. Example, if her last 2 periods came 25 days apart, the couple must separate again 25 days after the last period, since she may menstruate then. Practical case, if her last period was on Rosh Chodesh, on the 30th of the month, right over here, if her last period was on Rosh Chodesh, meaning the 30th of the month, and the one before was on the 6th of the previous month, over here. Okay? That's 25 days apart. How do we get 25 days? Very simple. We count it from day number 6. So day 30th, we count over here. That is 25 days. Therefore, the husband must separate from her 25 days after her most recent period on the 25th day after the last onset. Like this. 25 days later, after she already knows her interval, 25 days later will be right over here. He has to separate from her. Details about day and night distinction. Okay, what happens if she short during the day on one period and then the last one short at night? What am I supposed to do? One during the day, one during the night, or the other way around, one during the night and one during the day? If the last period began at the night, but the previous one began during the day, we still count the interval as is. You keep it the way it is. Accordingly, the separation must be at the same ona as the most recent onset. So it comes out over here, in our situation, that if this woman saw over here during the night, and over here she saw during the day, we're going to tell you on the 25th of the day, you're going to separate from her during the day. Now, but Rabotai, we also have to remember, okay, this I wrote, we also have to remember the interval cycle is in addition to the average cycle. This is very important to remember. So therefore, if a woman didn't get it on day number 25, doesn't mean she doesn't have to be concerned. We're going to tell you, you're allowed to have a relation with your husband 25, 26, 27, 28. On the 20th night, since it's day 30 from the last time that you saw, over there we're going to tell you have to stay away from your husband. So Rabotai, today we learned another new principle. Veset hahaflagot, interval cycles. Yesterday we learned Ona Benonit, today we learned Veset haflaga. Bezrat Hashem Rabotai, in the following class, we will also add another Veset. And
Okay, Rabotai, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to see that other Veset Bezrat Hashem, and then we're going to be able to go into today's class. Let's see the Veser of Yom HaChodesh, which is part 15, the date of the month. That is another cycle that the husband and the wife must separate from one another.
welcome to Halachot Niddah. This will be part 15 of the class. Today's topic, the Veser of the month. In Hebrew, it's called Veser HaChodesh. In the previous class, we spoke about Veser HaFlaga. And in the class before that class, we spoke about Ona Benonit. Ona Benonit is the average Ona. It's 30 days after the last time that she saw. You count 30 days, including the time that you saw. And on the 30th day, you stay away from your husband when it comes to having relations. Then we saw the Veset HaFlaga, the interval cycle. The interval cycle works. When she sees her period for the first time, now she has to wait until she's going to see her period the second time. Once she gets her period the second time, I'm going to tell her, count, including the day that she saw the blood, count that as day one. Continue counting until you get to the last time that you saw, which was the second seeing. Include that in the count. How many days was from the first time she saw to the second time that she saw? How many days passed? In the previous class, we used 25 days. So again, next time around, she has to be afraid for the 25-day interval and for the 30-day average Ona. We explained, if the 25th day interval came first, you don't have to be afraid of the average Ona because now she's going to be bleeding all those days. But if the 25th day interval did not come, now you have to be afraid of the average Ona. Today, Rabotai, we want to learn the monthly Veset, which is called Veset HaChodesh. This, Rabotai, is very easy to calculate. This is called the monthly cycle. Again, this is a makeshift calendar. I'm picking different dates so you guys can get accustomed to how to go ahead and do this one day yourselves, Bezrat Hashem. So what does it mean, Veset HaChodesh? What does that mean, the monthly cycle? What does that mean? Very simple. This is actually the most simplest one. If the woman saw on the month of Av, on the 18th of the month of Av, next month, Rabotai, which is the month of Elul, she has to stay away from her husband on the 18th of Elul. So what does Veset HaChodesh mean? It means that whatever date of the month that you got your period on, besides the Ona Benoni that you have to be afraid of, besides the Veset HaFlaga you have to be afraid of, now we're going to see today it's correct to also be afraid of Veset HaChodesh. One more time, Veset HaChodesh is whatever date you got it, next month, that same date, it's better to stay away from your husband. Now, Rabotai, I want to just show you something. As you guys can see, I made the numbers on the bottom. Like usual, Rabotai, the top numbers are the dates of the month. These bottom numbers over here where I wrote 1, right, 2, 3, all these numbers on the bottom, is the days until she's anticipating that her period is going to come. So I want to just show you something, Rabotai. Let's say this woman received on the month of 18. So now, Rabotai, she has 3 vestot. 3 anticipated periods when she's expecting the blood flow to come. So one of them is Ona Benonit. Second one is Veset HaFlaga. Third one we're learning today is the Veset HaChodesh. So let's go step by step. Let's say this woman has 2 vestot. Ona Benonit she has to be afraid of because she's a woman who does not have a fixed Veset. And she also has to be afraid of the Veset HaFlaga. So what are we going to do? This woman saw on the 18th of Av. Beautiful. We're going to count on the 18th of Av is going to be day 1. Now she has 2 vestot. One for day 25, one for day 30, which is the Ona Benonit. So we're going to count date number 18. We're going to make that day number 1. That's when she saw the blood. Okay, Rabotai, you get it, yeah? She saw the blood on the 18th of Av, which is going to be the first day. And the 19th of Av is going to be the second day to her seeing. Third day, fourth day, so on and so forth. Fifth day, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, Rabotai. since this woman has a vested haflaga, let's say in our case, we made it to be 25 days, that means when she received her period on the 18th of Av, 25 days later, she has to be afraid, right over here. This is 25 days later, right over here. Right over here. This is 25 days later, where she has to stay away from her husband. She has to see if she's going to get a period. She didn't get a period. She does the bidika. No problem. She's allowed to be with her husband on the 26th day from the last time that she saw. Now she has to be afraid for day 30, which is the average owner. Good. So we put over here 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 right over here. Now day 30 came. About that, listen to this beautiful piece. Now day 30th came, which is the average owner. So we see right now, she had to be afraid for two vestot. Up to now, we've been learning two vestot. So one of them is the vesta flaga. The other one is the honor benenit. Today's class comes and teaches me what happens if she did not receive it on the average ona. We're going to tell you it is correct for her to be afraid for the vested of the chodesh of the last month. What was the vested of the chodesh last month? Let's go back. When did she get it last month? On the 18th of the month. She got on the 18th of the month. Beautiful. That means next month she has to be afraid for the 18th of the month, right over here. Oh. I don't know if you guys can see it. Not see it. Let me just make it lighter. There we go. Rabbatai, so it comes out that a woman, while she's tahor, you have to really be concerned about her vesed aflaga, the interval cycle, the honor benenit, the average cycle. And now we're learning today for the first time, vesed achodesh, the monthly cycle, which means to say that on whatever date she got it last month, the following month you're going to have to, it's correct for you to stay away from your wife on that date of the month. So one more time, Rabbotai. If the woman received it on the 18th of the month of Av, on the 18th of the Elul, she has to stay away from her husband. How's it going to work? The same like it does by any other vestot. If she received the blood on the 18th of the day, good. She's going to stay away only from her husband on the 18th of the day. So Rabotai, we see over here how many vestot so far we came up with when a woman is tahor. So let's go back now and let's see Rav David Yosef Shlita. Here we go. V'nachon lifrosh mi'isha she'en la vesed kavua. Over here he uses the language v'nachon. He doesn't say you have to, but he says it is correct, which it makes it a little bit better. V'nachon lifrosh mi'isha she'en la vesed kavua. It is correct to separate from a woman who does not have an established cycle. Gam biyom hachodesh. So too on the day of the month. Dahainu, which means to say, biyom shecha bo oto ta'arich ivri shebo ra'ata bepam ha'achrona. On that day that the Jewish date fell out on, that is what you have to be afraid the next time around. This is why it is very crucial to use a Hebrew calendar. Only a Hebrew calendar. So let me just show you over here. Since the ta'arich, since the date in the month of Av when she saw was on the 18th, you have to be afraid for that date in the following month, in the month of Elul, on the 18th. That's besides what you have to also be afraid for the interval and the average ona. Rabotai, when you learn like this, ask anyone, even the one that teaches these halachot, ask them, Rabotai, see how much, honestly, I'm not chas v'shalom telling you that you should embarrass them, no, just ask them normally, see how much they know, Rabotai, because all these halachot, it's many halachot. It's not just, a woman saw blood, don't touch her, don't sleep with her, and that's it. It doesn't work like that. There's days, even when she's tahor, you cannot sleep with her, like we're seeing now. So it comes back into the halacha, so it comes, says Rav David Yosef, Dahainu biyom shecha bo oto tarich ivri, on the day that her period came out to be on the date of the Hebrew calendar, that she saw it the last time. That's going on a woman who is not established. But however, what happens if you have a woman who has an established cycle? We still didn't see how a woman has an established cycle. Don't worry about it. You don't need to separate from her on the average owner. Only you have to separate from her on her established vesed. And she doesn't need anything more. So I'll put it to you like this, Rabotai. We'll see, once we get to Vetz Kavuo, this will become clear. I'm just reading it because he brought down in his book. But Rabotai, the beauty of having a woman who has an established cycle is that she doesn't ever have to worry for any other cycles. She only has to worry for one cycle and one cycle only. Whatever she's fixed on, that's what you're always going to be afraid of. There's no honor benoni, no You don't have these things, Rabotai. We always go after her established cycle. So one more time, and then we'll do a small review. It is correct to separate from a woman who does not have an established cycle also on the day of the month. Which means to say that the last time when she saw, on which Hebrew date did it fall out on? That's the date. The next month you're going to stay away from your wife. Again, it's correct. However, if you have a woman who has an established cycle, you do not need to separate from her on the average ona. Only you're going to separate from her on her established cycle, and she doesn't need anything else. She doesn't have to be afraid for any other vested. Rabotai, I'm not going to write the other. We have over here the rule for a woman without a fixed vested, and then also Rav David Yosef said the rule for a woman with a fixed vested. Since we don't really know what that is yet, I'm going to leave that out. I'm just going to say what we need to learn. So he said like this: the rule for a woman without a fixed vested, her husband must separate from her also on Yom HaChodesh, the same Hebrew calendar date of the month on which she last saw her period. Again, the same Hebrew calendar date of the month on which she last saw her period. So in our case, if she saw it on the 18th of Av, when is she going to be afraid? She's going to be afraid on Elul 18. Okay?
Okay, Rabotai, now that we saw the three vestot on a Benunit, Yom HaHaflaga, and Yom HaChodesh, begins Rav David Yosef Shlita in the Sefer Taharat HaBayit, and he says, Isha she'en la vesed kavua, a woman who does not have an established cycle, shehigia zman ona benunit, and the zman and the time of her average owner came, shuhu yom hasheloshim mitchilat riata ha'ochrona, which is the 30th day from the beginning of her last seeing, tzricha livdok atzma be'ota ona, she needs to check herself at that period. And this bidika, how does this woman who does not have a vest kavua, how does she check herself? She checks herself exactly like the law dictates for a woman who has a vested kavua. That, Rabotai, we saw in part 30 of the class. I did not play today. Just go to part 30, you'll see it, and then you'll be able to apply it to a woman who does not have an established cycle. So, up to now, Rabotai, Rav David Yosef Shlita is telling us over here that a woman who does not have an established cycle, she has to be concerned for her average ona, and like we explained, Rabotai, depending when she saw, day or night, that's when she's going to separate from her husband. But also in that period, she has to do a bidika. Okay, Rabotai, so that's what Rav David Yosef is telling us over here, that a woman who does not have an established cycle, she must check herself at the appropriate ona. She meaning to say she must put the bidika cloth inside and check herself and make sure she's clean. And only then the following day, she's allowed to go ahead and sleep with her husband, like we explained in the class for the average ona. And then Rav David Yosef did mention that the bidika needs to be exactly like that of a woman who has an established cycle. And we said, please listen to part 30 of the class. Over there we spoke in length about how a woman needs to go ahead and check herself and with what she has to check herself. Continues Rav David Yosef Shlita, and he says, and being the fact that a woman who does not have an established cycle, tzarich ba'ala lifrosh memena melvad be'ona benunit, that her husband needs to separate from her besides from the average ona. Here we go, Rabotai. That's number one, where the husband has to separate from her. Gam be'onat haflaga. And that's why we had to play that video. Also, he has to separate from her at the interval cycle. That is the second ona. Right? Gam be'onat haflaga achrona. Also, at the period of the interval, meaning of her last interval. V'gam be'ta'arich ha'chodesh ha'ivri shel hayom harishon shel riyata. And also, on the Hebrew calendar date right? The last class, the third class that we saw, and also on the Hebrew calendar date, corresponding to the first day of her last flow when it began. Okay, Rabotai, like we explained. So we see over here that a woman has to go ahead and she has to separate from her husband, but also, Rabotai, those 3 dates on the Ona Benenit, on the Yom HaHaflagah, and Yom HaChodesh, and all of these days, Rabotai, she has to go ahead and she has to make sure that she checks herself. So let's do this one more time. When she separates from her husband on the Ona Benenit, she must do the Bedika. She needs to do the Bedika. When she separates from her husband on the Yom HaHaflagah, the Ona HaHaflagah, and the interval cycle, she also has to do Bedika there. Again, Rabotai, corresponding to when she saw. Remember, if she saw during the day, she checks during the day. If she saw during the night, she checks during the night, like we explained. Now, also, Rabotai, when it comes to the Yom HaChodesh, when it comes to the date of the month itself, also she has to stay away from her husband, and also she has to go ahead and she has to do B'dik over there. Okay, Rabotai, so let's see that one more time. And being the fact that a woman who does not have an established cycle, the husband needs to separate from her, milvad be'ona benunit, besides from the average ona, gam be'onat ha'haflaga achrona. Also, the husband has to separate from her on the last interval cycle, v'gam be'tarich ha'chodesh ha'ivri shel hayom harishon shel ri'ata ha'achrona, and also on the Hebrew calendar date corresponding to the first day of her last menstrual flow that she got. That day that she got, meaning the date when she got the period, next time around, she has to be afraid for that date. Okay, Rabotai? This is very, very important to know. This is why I went back and I had all of these 3 classes played for us in order for us to be able to understand this. Now, says Rav David Yosef, therefore, lechatchila, ideally or initially, the best proper course of action, tivdok atzma gam be'onot ha'haflaga ha'achrona, u'betarich ha'chodesh ha'ivri. Says Rav David Yosef Shlita over here, that ideally a woman should check herself also on the interval veset, meaning on her last interval veset, and also she should check herself on the date of the Hebrew month. However, he says, "V'im lo batka atzma be'onat ha'haflaga ha'achrona u'betarich ha'chodesh ha'ivri." What happens if the woman did not check herself on the last interval cycle, and also she did not check herself on the date of the Hebrew month, meaning on the Yom HaChodesh, v'lo ra'ata, and she didn't see anything, v'lo hirgish, and she didn't have any sensation, she didn't feel nothing. Says Rav David Yosef Shlita, harehi tohora av belo bidika. Beautiful. Mwah. Rabotai, she's completely pure, even without doing any further bidikot. So therefore, even though the husband is not allowed to sleep with her at those particular or not, meaning either in the Ona HaHaflaga or in the Yom HaChodesh, even though he's not allowed to sleep, but she has to check. But what happens if she didn't check, and now that day or the night when she saw from last time already passed, then moving forward, she would be allowed to go ahead and sleep with him even without checking. She does have to go ahead and check again before having relations with her husband. This is very, very important, Rabotai. Okay, so one more time. If she did not check herself on the last interval cycle, and she did not check herself on the Hebrew date of the month, she didn't see and she didn't feel. She's tahor moving forward, even without checking again. Rabotai, this is very, very important to know. Just want to go ahead again and say it one more time. I don't want anybody chas v'shalom making a mistake. In the Veset HaHaflaga and the Yom HaChodesh, we want you to check. because we want to make sure you have no blood. But what happens at Rabotai, if those days that you were waiting, let's say you were waiting the 12-hour period, say you start in the day, right? Now the next time around, so you're staying away from your husband during the day. So you're supposed to check, but you forgot. You're busy with the kids, whatever it might be, at work, you didn't have the bedika clothes, whatever it might be. Beseder. Now came the night time. You say, oh, I forgot. What do? Do you have to go back and check yourself again before you have relations with your husbands? Absolutely not. You don't have to do it. You can have relations with your husband as long as you did not see and you didn't have any sensation. Now, this is in regards to the interval cycle and the Yom HaChodesh, the date of the month, right? Of the monthly cycle, right? Not the average Onah. However, Rabotai, when it comes to the average Onah, meaning the 30-day cycle, it's a different halacha. V'din im lo badka av be'onah benonit. And the Lord, Rabotai, if she did not check herself even in the average Onah, meaning in the 30-day average Onah, says Rav David Yosef Shlita, Yova'ar lahalan sifchet. It's going to be explained later on in halacha chet. So, B'ezrat Hashem, Rabotai, is that we're going to wait for once we get there. As of now, we know that there are 3 times the husband has to stay away from his wife. On the Onah Benonit, which is the average Onah, on the Veset HaFlaga, which is the interval cycle, and also on the Ta'arich HaChodesh HaIvri, on the date of the Hebrew month. 3 times. For sure you have to stay away. There's no question about it. Now, she has to also do bidikot. She has to check in all of these 3 days. However, Rabotai, for 2 days, for the Yom HaFlaga and the Tarikh HaChodesh, the date of the month, if she did not do the bidika there and then the owner passed and she didn't see and she didn't feel, we're going to say she's allowed to continue sleeping with her husband moving forward without a problem. However, when it came for the average Onah where she didn't check, those halachot B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to have to see in halacha chet. Let's do a small review B'ezrat Hashem, and with this we will conclude. Who is obligated to check herself on the Onah Benonit? A woman who does not have a fixed veset, ein la veset kavua, must check herself on the Onah Benonit, which is the 30th day from the beginning of her last menstruation. Question number 2. When should this examination be performed? During the same Onah corresponding to the Onah Benonit, meaning if she saw it during the day, then in the Onah Benonit, she's going to check during the day. If she saw it during the night, she's going to go ahead and the Onah Benonit, she's going to check at night, okay? So when should this examination be performed? During the same Onah corresponding to the Onah Benonit. Question number 3. How should the examination be performed? We said it should be performed in the same manner as the examination is required for a woman with a fixed veset. That, Rabotai, is in part 30 of the class. Question number 4. Besides the Onah Benonit, this is really what we want to see. Besides the Onah Benonit, from which times must the husband separate from his wife if she has no fixed veset? He must also separate during the last Onat HaFlaga and on the Hebrew calendar day. And on the Hebrew calendar date, which is the Veset HaChodesh, corresponding to the first day of her last menstruation. Question number 5. What is the preferred practice regarding examinations for these additional times? Ideally, she should also examine herself during the last Onat HaFlaga, which is the interval cycle, and on the Hebrew calendar date. However, in question number 6, if she did not examine herself on the Onat HaFlaga or the Hebrew calendar date, but she neither saw blood nor felt any indication of menstruation, what is her status? She remains tehora, she's ritually pure, even without performing an examination. But Rabotai, like I explained, moving forward, she doesn't have to check again until she actually sees and she's allowed to be with her husband. But not, Rabotai, on that period when she's anticipating her period to come. So if she was anticipating during the day and she didn't check herself during the day, once the night comes, we're going to tell her she's fine when it comes to the interval cycle and the date of the Hebrew month. However, Rabotai, in question number 7, what about if this is an average on the 30-day cycle? Does this section discuss what happens if she also failed to examine herself on the Ona Benunit? No, it did not, Rabotai. We didn't speak about it yet. It states that this law will be explained later in Seif Chet. B'ezrat Hashem, Rabotai, we'll see it as we go along. Everyone have a great day. Baruch Adonai L'olam. Amen ve'amen.